lovely to see such a crowd today. So thank you so much for coming and joining us. It's going to be a very exciting hour together with these four speakers. And we really got representation across the manufacturing industry, from those that actually build industrial zones to those that have been in Vietnam for so many years in the business and seeing the transition with working more and more on ESG, and to one of the newcomers. And I think everyone's been chasing Preben since he got here this afternoon. So we've got celebrities on the stage today. So I'm Christina Amann, and I will actually ask the speakers themselves to introduce themselves. So if you could just communicate to the audience who you are and where you come from and what your organization does, that would be lovely. So let's start from the other end.
Thank you, Christina. Hi, everyone. My name is Giang Nguyen. Now I'm the Sustainability Manager of Vietnamese. The company has been in the market over 40 years, and I believe the majority of Vietnamese in this room know about it and maybe have a pair of Vietnamese shoes at home. And thank you for your long time supporting us, and we are very proud to have a chance to be here to present to you about us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Before we go over to Preben, could you maybe talk a little bit around your sustainability agenda so we get that foundation straight away, and as you've got the microphone?
So later in my answer for the Christina questions, maybe I will speak in Vietnamese sometimes because it's easier for me to elaborate about our solutions in Vietnamese. But now I can explain a bit in English. In Vietnamese, we have the three pillars of sustainability focusing on people, on planet, and the productivity. And it's similar to the triple bottom line concept of CSR and sustainability. And I will go deeper into the activities under each pillar when we go into details. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And then we move over to Preben. If you could do a short introduction as well, and maybe tell people what you do, in case no one knows.
Yes. Thanks a lot, Christina. And hello, everyone. And my name is Preben, and I'm the general manager of our Lego manufacturing Vietnam and heading up all our investment here in Vietnam. I'm also vice president in the Lego group, but my single responsibility now is really all what we do here in Vietnam. I have been here close to 2 years, came at the end of the pandemic, enjoying it a lot, and it's great to see all the interest about our investment and of course our products and all of these. So I hope all of you go out and buy a lot of nice Lego products, even more after today when you can hear what we do a lot more in the sustainability area and diversity, inclusion and all of these. And super happy to be here.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Preben. Could I also ask you maybe just a couple sentences, the overarching sustainability agenda for Lego?
Yes, you can, of course. And first of all, it's not new at all for us. Actually, we build all our efforts in these areas around what we call the planet promise and our people promise. And we have actually had them. I've been in the Lego group for over 10 years now. And they were also there when I joined the Lego group. So it's nothing new. It's not anything our marketing people have started to create 2-3 years ago when the world exploded around all of that. So it's actually old story from the Lego group, and our owners, we are privately owned and the owner family is very, very strong in these all sustainability, environment, and it's really, really not new. And so a lot of things is quite different for us in the Lego group. For example, just to mention one thing in it, when we have a nice, good business case, as many companies, and it's very positive, and you will say, yes, go do. That's not enough in the Lego group. You also need to prove the planet promise is being fulfilled, and it can actually end up costing you a nice business case, and we will decide to do it anyhow, also with a loss. So that is just one little example and a little teaser of it.
Thank you so much. And we'll come back to the two of you. And delighted to have you take the stage and introduce yourself and the organization.
Thank you, Christina. Hello, everybody. My name is Ngam from Thiên Long Group. As logo, I think Thiên Long has been very well known to most of Vietnamese. A lot of Vietnamese have been using Thiên Long product at least once in their life. We have mostly know by pen, but we also have children products like art and some other products. So as a popular brand name like logo and business, our vision and mission is to be fully engaged in the ESG and not just for us. We want to transmit the mission and vision to everybody because our new vision and mission is provide the efficient and inspired to a very happy learning life. With such and with 1 billion product per year, we think our vision is very, very stick to ESG in every activity.
And Ms. Na, maybe you could introduce yourself, what you do, and in your company as well.
I think I'm the smallest one in the company. In Thiên Long, we have changed the business model, the organization model, to have the CEO at the most bottom, and we serve it all the employees.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And Melissa, please welcome. I know you were a little bit one of the last panelists, but a warmer welcome that you could make it.
Yes, thank you. It was a bit last minute that I replaced our sales director, but as head of sustainability, I think I can also represent the view of Deep Sea on ESG and sustainability. So here I am. So as I mentioned before, I am head of QHSE and sustainability for Deep Sea industrial zones. Some of you might not know us yet because we are mostly located in the north of Vietnam. We have 3,400 hectares of industrial land available in 2 provinces in the north, which are Hải Phòng and Quảng Ninh. And we try to offer these a most sustainable way to our tenants.
And you have obviously a personal passion about this because this is what you do every day.
Yes, indeed, and it's so nice to transfer this passion to our employees and to our tenants, and to see how this is being rolled out and improving over time more and more.
Thank you so much. So we'll go on to the next segment of following the introductions. And the next segment is really looking at why is this important, and a little bit on the practicality of engaging around sustainability and ESG. So we have a wonderful setup here, and we'll focus on different aspects, considering that there are in different aspects and angles of the manufacturing industry. There's been, as we know, a big push on the investor side the last couple of years in Vietnam, and this push has also been felt on the manufacturing industry to incorporate more and more ESG. But other than that, there also be interest on your side to actually do this and to do this more, not just because you've been asked to do it. So let's start and go back to you, Melissa. You know, Deep Sea, you're building industrial zones. So in actual fact, I'd love to know how the journey has been the last couple of years up to now with regards to some of your stakeholders. And if you think about it, your stakeholders are clients. These are your clients next to you, or even other stakeholders, investors. Tell us a little bit about the journey on sustainability and ESG from your side.
Yes. So indeed, we are a bit different than a manufacturing company. Our ESG story has 2 sides. So at one side, we are also a company. We are Deep Sea as an industrial zone company. So we also have this ESG in our hearts. And we also have our shareholders who really have this in their vision and want us to be a sustainable investment for our tenants. And the other side are our tenants. We actually represent over 150 companies, and we need to be there for 150 companies to support them in this journey. When I joined Deep Sea 5 years ago, I started in the water business. There was no sustainability division yet. because no one was actually thinking about it. I think in general, many companies already took action, but it was not as big as today yet. But over time, we have seen such a change, where the biggest part of the discussions 5 years ago were pricing. Today, it's ESG. It's what do you do? Are you environmental compliance? Can you prove it? Are you taking next steps? What is your vision? Can we get renewable energy certificates? ESG has really become a very important topic in, for investors to make the decision where they will implement their factory.
How has that changed your way of working? So you started off in water.
Yes.
Has your role changed as well over time?
Yes.
And then the second part of the question, practically, how does that change internally in your processes, how you build new zones, how do you retrofit the zones, for example, and practically, how does that working relationship with your clients and investors?
Yep. Well, I think it has always been in our heart. It has always been in our vision. We have always been implementing our industrial zones in the most sustainable way. But getting those questions, this information is scattered around in different departments. So we had to collect all the data. We had to raise awareness amongst the departments that what they are doing is very important, but that they also need to work on a plan, on a vision to improve over time. And by this, also, the measuring is important. So we set a baseline.
What they say, what doesn't get measured doesn't get done. Yeah, or the other way around. Did I get it right? Please, someone help me.
Well, it's not really what doesn't get measured doesn't get done. I think we already did a lot, but if you do not measure it, it's much more difficult to prove that you are doing something. So by starting to measure, you can really show your improvements. You can actually back up your story. So, and that is something that has changed in the way we worked. So we didn't just act, we also measured, and by this year we will also issue our first ESG report, because we think it is also important to be transparent on what we do.
Thank you so much. That's really been a big step. 5 years is very short when you have to do all of this. And really, absolutely, that speed up in the process of collecting data is quite a job in itself as well.
Yes, indeed, yeah. And definitely because ESG is implemented in all the different departments in a company. So it's the first data collection is a hustle, but actually, once you're there, you can have such a good image of where your company can make the biggest impact. So that's why it's important.
Thank you so much, Melissa. We'll come back to that. Ms. Nya, we are so interested in you as well. You have really had a period of transition as well. We talk about 5 years here with Melissa. We talk many years with you. I think maybe would love to hear, as a Vietnamese company, you really maybe didn't start off from the beginning thinking ESG, and how over time you've had to meet those words, and how does that transition look to you?
That's a great question. We have been in Vietnam for 42 years, and we never remember where we start the journey, because it's a very smooth transition. I think more than 50 years ago, we already have the recycled product in the black ball for children. And much earlier than that, we have put into many measures to save energy. But I remember about 10 years ago, we start to do a speed up one, and we just start talking about it about 2 years recently. We talk inside the company for about 10 years, but we just talk outside very early, very recent, because we think that are very natural for a company to do so, particularly when we sell products to children, students. It's a young generation. So I think every people in the company, and we want to talk to customer, also that ESG is not something new for us at all. It's a new term.
And if it's not new, but there is processes or ways of communicating that had to change over time, you export to 70 countries, if I got that number correct. And in that, there are also requirements outside of Vietnam looking into you. How have you met that over time?
We have been export to US more than 10 years ago. And for that, we have the standard, very strict standard on the manufacturing process. However, about less than 5 years, we already think about the recycled plastic. And recently, we have to think ahead on the practice using something like the rice, the other bioproducts. We also have to share with them the numbers, the data. And we also have to show them how we care about the ESG by putting it on the writing. First of all, we think it's not necessary, but then it's a must. We export to 70 countries around the world, you have correctly remember. And we also have to export to very key countries like US and EU, where they put the ESG standard at high level. But they accept it, improve our internal strength on that.
I think I want to highlight what you just said there as well, that it's a must. It's not something that you can now not do. One of the things we talked about, Ms. Nya, as well when we had a conversation before, was also that in addition to what you're doing internally in your organization and the manufacturing site, is that you have this very strong belief in teaching and learning, and that you are very looking at different stakeholders to ensure that knowledge around these issues already start early. Can you talk a little bit about that as well?
Yeah, that's very inspiring story. Thanks for reminding me. Can I have the slide on, please? Thank you. If you look at the board, the slide. Okay, sorry. These are the products that represent the new look and new emphasis for the recycling. You can see one of the products comes from recycle and others are recycled products and other from biomaterials. We want to talk and teach not only employees but also our customers. Not only 70 countries that we export, but also all over the country, because we have about 55 point of sales. And our customer is average student in Vietnam. Our new vision and mission is we inspire and provide efficient solution for happy learning life. And what is happy learning life? Happy learning life include happy to learn to be sustainable. And happy to learn to sustainable is to protect our younger generation for a forever sustainability. With that, we have a lot of activities. For example, we help children to collect the products for a greener school, and that are very widespread and inspiring events. We use the recycled products to create the masterpiece like the one pillar, very famous in Vietnam, and let children know that all the recycled product should be treasured. At one time, we want to, at one end, we want to reduce it, but at the other time, we want to make it useful. And everybody have the responsibility to do that. It's not just companies, but it's all the younger generation, all the customers, everybody, so that it is inspired.
I think it very much ties in what was also discussed in the previous panel, that the challenge was not so much that you had it, like you have the recycling or the processes. The long journey is actually education and awareness, and this is what you're doing with the learning, imparting knowledge earlier on to your various stakeholders. Thank you so much, Ms. Nya. We will go now to, we'll jump over you, Preben, and go to. No, it's okay. But we'll come back to him, I promise. We'll go to Ms. Zhang, because when we were talking about, you have a lot of these practical parts in place, but you were also talking very much your big focus on employees, that in focusing with your employees, that's very much for you a starting point to ensure that there's ethical, sustainable behavior in all other parts of the organization. Could you talk a little bit about BITIS around this?
Thank you for your question, Christina, but I think I'm gonna explain a bit in Vietnamese so it's easier. And sorry for the English speaking audience here. Ở BITIS thì mình có một cái sứ mệnh đó là cùng nhau xây dựng một cộng đồng làm việc và hạnh phúc. Cùng nhau xây dựng một cộng đồng làm việc, học tập, hạnh phúc và hiệu quả. Thì cho nên là cái giá trị hạnh phúc á, nó đã được đưa vào trong cái văn hóa của doanh nghiệp. Và mình có một cái niềm tin rất là lớn rằng một doanh nghiệp muốn phát triển bền vững thì mỗi con người trong doanh nghiệp đó phải thấu hiểu được thế nào gọi là bền vững, và họ phải thực sự được sống một cái cuộc sống gọi là hạnh phúc và bền vững. Vì vậy thì khi BITIS phát triển cái chiến lược về ESG hay là cái chiến lược về sustainability của mình á, thì mình đặt cái yếu tố về con người lên trên hết. Ở BITIS thì mình luôn luôn muốn là tập trung vào cái sự phát triển của từng con người trong BITIS và từ đó chuyển hóa mỗi con người thì mới có thể là mỗi con người đó trở thành một cái change agent để mà có thể lan tỏa và biến những cái sự chuyển đổi, những cái sự hạnh phúc và bền vững đó lan tỏa ra cộng đồng lớn hơn được. Thì ở cái yếu tố về con người, people, thì ở BITIS mình có một cái dự án gọi là Happy BITIS. Ở dự án này thì mình bên BITIS tập trung vào hai yếu tố, đó là nếu mà muốn duy trì sự hạnh phúc của một con người thì mình phải có là yếu tố hạnh phúc bên trong và hạnh phúc bên ngoài của họ. Thì đối với cái yếu tố hạnh phúc bên trong thì ở BITIS mình có những cái hoạt động và những cái chương trình để mà hướng dẫn cho mọi người và mời mọi người cùng thực tập những cái kỹ năng về hạnh phúc. Thì khi những kỹ năng đó nó xoay quanh 3 kết nối. Đó là đầu tiên là kết nối của một con người với chính mình. Mình phải hiểu được mình là ai, mình như thế nào, tâm sinh lý của mình hôm nay ra sao. Và cái thứ hai là kết nối với người khác. Cái mối quan hệ giữa người với người nó có được xây dựng trên tình thương, nó có được xây dựng trên cái sự tôn trọng và phát triển đồng đều hay không. Và cái cuối cùng chính là cái yếu tố kết nối giữa một con người với lại môi trường. Thì đây là một cái sự thiếu thốn trong cái đời sống con người Việt Nam hiện nay. Tại vì mình, hoặc là con người trên thế giới nói chung, tại vì là mình ít có cái cơ hội được tiếp xúc với những cái biến đổi của môi trường, những cái cảnh quan thiên nhiên, hay là mình thực sự cảm thấy nuôi được cái tình yêu đối với thiên nhiên đó. Thì vì vậy ở Happy BITIS thì mình có cái nỗ lực để mà mình xây dựng cái kết nối này với 3 kết nối này của mỗi con người, gọi là internal happiness. Và cái thứ hai là cái yếu tố về communal happiness, là mình xây dựng cái chiến lược quản lý doanh nghiệp dựa trên khung GNH. GNH có nghĩa là Cross National Happiness Framework. Thì cái framework này được phát triển bởi Bhutan. Và Bhutan thì mọi người cũng biết là được mệnh danh là đất nước hạnh phúc nhất thế giới, đúng không ạ? Thì họ xây dựng cái khung quản lý quốc gia của họ dựa trên 9 domains, là 9 cái yếu tố căn bản xây dựng, tức là tác động lên cái đời sống của một con người. Thì khi mà BITIS adapt cái framework này vào trong cái chương trình của mình á, thì mình cũng dựa trên 9 cái yếu tố này. Nhưng mà đương nhiên mình có chuyên gia là thầy Hà Vĩnh Thọ, cũng là một trong những người gọi là former president của GNH Center in Bhutan. Và thầy cũng giúp mình để xây dựng được cái hệ thống này để mà mình adapt vào trong doanh nghiệp của mình. Thì từ những cái này mình mới ra được những cái chiến lược để quản lý doanh nghiệp đảm bảo được cái sự bền vững của từng con người trong BITIS. Thì đó là cái sự khác biệt mà BITIS đang thực hành. Thì đây là cái kết quả mà mình đã có được từ năm 2018 đến 2021. Đó là cái vòng tròn màu đỏ ở bên trong chính là cái kết quả mà mình đo ban đầu, gọi là baseline result ở năm 2018. Thì lúc đó khi mọi người thấy là cái hình tròn của mình nó rất là méo, bởi vì mỗi con người BITIS thời điểm đó mình không cân bằng. Có những cái yếu tố trong đời sống của mình nó bị lệch, hoặc là có những cái mà mình không được thỏa mãn. Tuy nhiên là sau 3 năm áp dụng Happy BITIS và mình thực sự là có những cái chuyển đổi về chiến lược, những cái về về chính sách để mà quản lý doanh nghiệp, hay là những cái chương trình hỗ trợ cho cán bộ công nhân viên, thì cái hình tròn năm 2021 nó đã nở ra là cái đường tròn màu xanh. Mọi người có thấy nó tròn hơn. Mục tiêu của BTS không phải là đạt đến cái điểm tối đa của tất cả các hạng mục. Tại vì không bao giờ mình phải quản trị lòng tham, đúng không ạ? Mình không thể nào mà muốn tất cả mọi thứ đều hoàn hảo được. Tuy nhiên là mình muốn cái hình tròn của mình nó tròn hết mức có thể. Có nghĩa là những con người của mình sống nó cân bằng nhất có thể. Thì đó là từ những cái này mình cũng dẫn ra được tới là cái con người BTS họ sống an vui và nó hạnh phúc hơn. Thì trước đây BTS là một doanh nghiệp 40 năm, thì cái việc mình vận hành nó sẽ dựa trên chuyện là quản lý bằng nỗi sợ, bằng kỷ luật. Nhưng mà sau khi mình thực hành cái chương trình này thì là mình đã chuyển hóa thành tình yêu và sự tin tưởng.
I think what my follow-up question with regards to that, thank you so much for that introduction as well, is that you did start off with managing your workforce in your through fear. You did say that, and how you transition to management with trust. And that is very much as well the S part in ESG. Has that converted in anything that you can share in the practical side? Do you have higher retention? Is it better with your relationship with business partners and suppliers? If you could talk a little bit around that.
Yeah. So after implementing the Happy BTS program, we recognize significant improvement in our performance. First of all, during the COVID-19 period time, I know that the majority of Vietnamese companies suffer from it, and many of them have to shut down their business. But our growth in business is about, like last year our income is about 4,000 billion Vietnam dong, which is way better than before COVID. Or even in 2021, our income is 1,300 billion Vietnam dong, and why many have to shut down. So I think it's very positive because everyone, after COVID and after Happy BTS, their engagement with the company increased significantly, and their trust to the company is also improved. If I have the slide, the correct slide here, you will see the number, the point that we get from this employee survey, that we had really high, like nearly absolute rate of our employee confirm that they feel that the company put them in the priority during chaos, and also they trust that they have a long time working for us, so they believe that their time with BTS will be long. It's not a short-term relationship at all.
Thank you so much. And Preben, on to you. So we've heard from different parts of the manufacturing industry. We've heard from those that actually build the industrial zones and what is expected in comparison to 5 years ago. We've heard from Ms. Yang how they've transitioned over time to even increase more of their engagement around ESG. So in part for you, Lego is one of the newer kids in Vietnam. I'd love to hear how you're approaching your manufacturing site with sustainability and ESG as a starting point. So if you could talk through the building itself, to engagement with your stakeholders, and how you're also engaging with the community.
Yes, and I must also say, super interesting to hear the stories and all the good initiatives from my panel colleagues here. But first of all, as I mentioned in the beginning, this is not new for us. So we have had these sustainability targets, and not only sustainability, also on all other topics we are talking about. We are doing them at our oil factories as well. So and it's not something we have built the last couple of years. It's really old. And we have always seen ourselves as really being in the forefront of these. And you can of course say, because our products is mainly for kids and playful adults, so we care a lot about the future generation. So that is also therefore we have planted 50,000 trees here in Vietnam and things like that. So it all fits together. So what I'm talking about here is not new for us. Of course, it has a special twist here in Vietnam, because we came to Vietnam and we selected Vietnam out of a lot of good reasons. The most important one is really that there's a lot of kids in Southeast Asia, and there's expected to be a lot of more kids in the next many years. So we need a factory nearby. So I have a very short and effective and as best possible supply chain. But when we look at these, when we went into Vietnam, for example, when we had to select which industrial zone would we select to have our factory in, and we had very good conversation as well with Deep Sea and a very high quality industrial zone as well. But already there we had a lot of requirements so that, hey, we need to talk waste, we need to talk water savings, we need to talk carbon neutrality. We had the same requirements when we had the first initial meetings with the Hanoi government. We were so lucky to meet the Prime Minister Sin at the COP26 and had the first initial discussion there. So we had some requirements as well to the government, not about tax rebates or financial support or something like that. No, the requirements was around you need to be damn serious about your environmental targets and all of these, what you are talking about. So, and that was a feeling that I had at that time that was new. They are used to have companies approaching and we want to have a special tax deal for the next 10 years or 20 years or some other kind of financial support. But here was a company that was talking about you need to commit, but you need to deliver as well when you do these. And that we will be monitoring. So it was the same to the industrial zones, what we had there. And I must say, now we selected in Binjung, the VSIP. We could also have selected the Deep Sea because they were also extremely serious about it. But we have also had quite a number of talks with different provinces in Vietnam and also industrial zones where I really saw that the first time they've heard that requirement. Why do you talk about waste? So to say, in zero waste to landfill, why is that important? No, we cannot help you, sorry. And solar panels, no. There's no square meter of my land in the province will ever go to solar. I need to sell it to manufacturing. And that was clearly things we heard here 2, 3, 4 years ago. And I think a lot of companies are still getting these responses. But here I hope that we can, and I think we are doing it, that we are a bit of changing Vietnam and Southeast Asia as well. It has created a lot of interest what we are doing here. So that is some of the new things. So it is our first carbon neutral factory, but it's not the first factory where we care a lot about the environment and saving in power savings, saving in water consumption and all of these. That is not new, but we have really, so to say, hired the bar here in Vietnam. And we have also taken the decision that what we are doing now in Vietnam will be the minimum requirement for all our future factories. So the one we are building now in the US has to fulfill the same requirements as we are doing here in Vietnam.
And to follow that, because I was so lucky to be at your groundbreaking ceremony a couple of months ago, and so interesting, when you talked about the building itself, you not only mentioned all the actual hardware that was going to be in place and the improvements, you talked a lot about the social part as well, with your employees, the community around you, as well as engaging with organizations throughout Vietnam. Could you talk a little bit about that and how that ties into the broader picture of sustainability and ESG for Lego in Vietnam?
Yes, happy to do that. And I think here we also have to understand a little bit the Lego group. Yes, we are for kids and playful adults, future generation and that. We have, so to say, our profit. We happily make a lot of good profit and has done that in many years. But we are actually sending the profit to our parent company and to our Lego Foundation. And the Lego Foundation actually have that advantage that they support kids in need across the world. So 25% of our profit every year goes directly to kids in need around the world. So that is also saying that we have a very strong, so to say, incentive and relation to do local community engagement, to work with different NGOs in the countries we are in, and we are doing that here in Vietnam as well. And that is something we start doing from the day one when we enter a country. So it's not just that when I look in my organization, I do not only have project people to build a factory and now to hire the coming leadership team and then 4,000 people as well working in the factory. No, we have also social community people and working with that, and we had them the first day, really. At the moment, we are focusing a lot in Binh Duong, but we have also done it south of Hanoi and at other places in Vietnam, and we will continue to see that. So being an employee in Lego also means that you need to volunteer for it. It's not mandatory that you need to do it, but most of our employees does it, that you have as a minimum 2 days paid per year, where you can just go and do some of these social activities, and that can be many different things, and many people do actually a lot more than that. And that is not something where you should feel stressed, or that is not my daytime work or something like that. We really encourage people to do that. We encourage people to be play agent and play heroes, and that to go out playing with kids and playful adults and learning these things as well, and feeling both the pride, of course, but also the fun of using the Lego bricks. And we can also see the impact on the happiness, and that we are so fortunate that we also measuring, so to say, our happiness once every year. And it's really, in the last 5-7 years, it's shot through the roof when we have really worked with all of this. And even the company we are using globally that is measuring for it, and they are measuring a lot of our companies around the world. We are the absolute highest they have measured in all time, and we are constantly beating it. We are seeing it. It has a lot to do with, of course, that we have a nice product that most people like and have nothing against, but it's also that we put so much effort into our people promise, and we call it, and translate it to the happiness we just heard about. We're working a lot with that. And it also comes by being a play agent, a play hero, going out there and really trying to change something. So we're also trying to educate our staff about don't use single-use plastic and things like that, but also remember to smile and be happy, not only at work, but also at home and things like that. So we're really trying to integrate these things, and it looks like we have a kind of, at least for us, a kind of winning formula at the moment, because people are really happy. And we see that when you first join the Lego group, then you don't really leave again. Doesn't mean that we don't have any that leaves. Of course we have, and also in Vietnam is one where you could say the average turnover is maybe a little bit higher than the average, and that. But we normally have lower numbers in turnover than the average of the markets. That's also what we see now here in Vietnam, and that is not just because of our commercial success. We don't believe that, and we have never done that. And you should also not believe it. It's the full picture, where happiness is about it. It's the social activities we do, and it's all the things with kids and playful adults and that. And it seems to work for us.
Thank you so much. And as we talk the full picture, I'd like to open up. So I'll have one more question, and happy to get some questions from the audience. So if we talk about the full picture of sustainability, you know, a lot of this conversation has been very uplifting, good focus and everything like that. But I'd like to wrap it up with, actually, if you could talk a little bit about challenges of working in manufacturing, trying to strive for this ESG sustainability agenda. What are the challenges, and what needs more to be done for this industry to be working in Vietnam? And if we could take just a minute each to think one challenge that you'd like to share with the audience, and I'd love to hear from the audience afterwards. Melissa, let's start with you. What's the one challenge that you grapple with?
I think a challenge for us is sometimes that it can be an advantage to be with 150, because together we can achieve more. It's sometimes also a challenge to be with 150, because not all 150 of our tenants have the same priorities. Some are still trying to recover from COVID, so ESG is less of their importance right now. We on the other side, we have many pioneers who are very engaged to go ahead with us in this journey. So it's for us sometimes it's a struggle to align all of them, and also to guide them in their needs, because not all of our tenants have the same needs, because some are just starting this journey, some are already very developed. So we need to adapt on the needs of all our tenants.
Yeah, you would always think that, oh, we've got the mass, oh, we've got the numbers, but actually that can also be the one that slows you down as well. So it's a 2 steps, 3 steps forward, 2 steps back, kind of,
Yes,
as someone
yes.
mentioned on the panel yesterday.
Yeah. Sometimes it's good that we have those pioneers that we already can put up a pilot, and then we can convince the others to join in the success by showing them success and by showing that it works and that it really has value.
Thank you so much. And Ms. Nya, what's one of the challenges you'd like to focus on?
I call my company an industry of the tiny of the many, many tiny, because we have 1 billion products and each product have so many parts. So we have billions parts per year. And to manage all of that in the cost-effective way for a product of 15 pence is a huge thing to do. And balancing the technology is not easy. For example, the mail flow index is so hard for us to manage for the small, tiny part like this. And if it's for larger, it's a higher price. For us, it is the balance, the optimization, and so it takes a lot of energy and efforts.
Preben, challenge?
I would say there's a lot of challenge. Now I could really talk a couple of hours or the rest of the day. But if I should say one, and it's maybe a big one where we are trying to contribute so it gets easier and better, is that when I look here and as a newcomer with only close to 2 years under my belt in Vietnam, all the ESG agenda and that, it's pretty new in Vietnam. When I come from Europe and that and then dive in here to Vietnam, it's new. Of course, we are talking about it here. There are some people that are talking about it, but it's not a lot. There has been a lot of focus on let's find a place where it's cheap to manufacture so we can sell our products with the highest profit. But we have to change that, and we would like to help with that in Lego. But it also calls for action, especially from the young generation. In all the pallets, start making some requirements to the companies that the young generation works for, etc. Because when we have been out looking for new staff with maybe some of the background we are talking about here, it is so hard to actually find some local employees here which really has some background in it and has the thoughts about it and some ideas and that. And we end up hiring people that has been abroad maybe for a year, 2 or 3 and studied and they have learned about it. It's not here in Vietnam. So it's one of the big challenges I really see as not just for us in Lego, we see the effects of it, but as a country. If Vietnam wants to change, and Vietnam wants to change, I clearly hear that from the top people in the government. That also calls for action from the people, especially the young generation. We know the generation I belong to, we are not changing a lot anymore.
We're young. We're all young on the stage.
So
Let's not go there.
And it's really the small things as well. Also, the single use of plastic, when you run a tour and walk a tour here in Ho Chi Minh, you will see it. Try running over the Sala Bridge in the morning before the hundreds of cleaners come. It looks like a rock concert the day after. Who is throwing all that single use of plastic? That's the young generation on the motorbikes that are throwing it away. It concerns me. So it's a challenge on that. We will do our bit as companies, and you can hear from my colleagues, everyone is doing a lot and have targets on that, but it's a call for action for the young generation as well. Take it serious. So I see that as a serious challenge, really.
Thank you, Preben. And Ms. Jiang.
Like my colleagues on this stage, we also have a lot of challenges. Some similar to the one that Thiên Long already shared regarding the technology and level of investment of the company. But I think the biggest challenge is gonna come from the people, because at the end of the day, we can have plenty of solutions and strategies regarding sustainability. But if the people who implement it don't really feel the meaning and the need of complying with sustainability, those strategies gonna be thrown into the trash bin because it's not gonna success. So I think the most important thing is how to make sure our employees, our communities really understand the needs of being sustainable, living like eco-friendly with the nature, and also have the readiness in terms of language, in terms of mindset, in terms of action to really collectively collaborate with each other to create a change. So I think that's why we implement and we focus a lot on our people strategies, and hopefully we can create a force of change agent that can together we create create positive impact for the environment and the society as well. Yeah.
I find interesting that you all have focused on a challenge, but the connecting part is that even if you're all in the manufacturing industry and you are paving the way, you can't do it alone. They're all the responsibility of everyone else as well, different stakeholders, but it's a collective action. So can I check in the audience if there is anyone that would like to raise their hands? Because I have plenty more questions, but I'm sure that you might have some too. So any hand up? No need to, oh, great, please. And please, can we focus on the question? Introduce yourself and the question.
Sure, thank
Yes.
you. Hi everyone, my name is Fat and I'm now working in CSR for a petrochemical project in Vũng Tàu City. So if you don't mind, can I have 2 questions, please, or just one?
Let's start with one.
One, okay,
Yeah.
it's fine, okay. Actually, my question is that, like for the ESG in the past, yesterday we heard a lot about investors, things like that. So I guess if your company comply with the ESG report, things like that, so you meet the requirement of the investor. But talking about the consumer, like for example, BTS or Thinh Long, for example, they are kids, they are student, children, even let go. So I guess when you comply with ESG, the thing is that it will be the dilemma for you in terms of the costs, because look at the Thinh Long show right now, some of the environmental friendly, and I guess the price would be higher than the normal one, given the fact that a lot of product now in Vietnam from China, so for sure it can compete with your product. So I guess my question is that how would you compromise between the ESG report requirements with your investor versus your customer in terms of the price, and then at the end of the day, your profit as well, because both investor and customer are also important to you. So,
Thank you so much for that question. Great question. I think we'll start with Melissa, because you don't have like a consumer, but you do have clients. So what's the dilemma there with regards to both sides? And then we can move on to the 3 other panels and the battle between investor requirements and consumer pricing.
Our idea is actually that if it's not sustainable, it's not profitable. Yeah? So it might take a little more time to see that it's generating profits. But if you do an investment related to ESG, if it's related to the people, if it's related to your product, you will see that it will generate you more profit on the long term. So it's worth the investment.
We have separate our products into 2 sectors. One of them is for short term and the other for the long term. The long term can be used for branding, for long term, for longer benefits, and the short term, especially for the mass products, we have to use it as a cash cow to make up for the long term. So taking the initiative without satisfying the short-term profits.
I think it's a good question. It's also a dilemma. I would maybe turn it a little bit around, because us in the Lego Group, it's fairly easy, because we are here for the long term. So we are here for 50, 100 years, or hopefully even longer. And that, so we are very happy to invest a bit more in the beginning or in the midterm, and that because we really believe in the long term, as Melissa is also talking to. I more see the dilemma for the companies manufacturing that are in Vietnam, because it's cheap in Vietnam. They are typically only here for 5 to 10 years. Why should they do something like that? So I think it's also there that the different provinces and the government has to decide, okay, do we really want to change Vietnam, or do we just want to be the cheapest place to manufacture in that? Because I don't think that a company coming, or a person coming from these companies that are only here for 5 to 10 years, why should they take a decision to invest in ESG and all of that? They are here on a different reason. And that, so I would turn it a little bit different then.
Actually, yesterday I was in a conference of BCCI, and they showed a number saying that customer, and especially Vietnamese number, are more willing to engage with eco-friendly products. And that's a very positive side that a company like us should pay attention to. But for BTS, actually, our product naturally is an eco-friendly product because it's produced to last long. So when you come to BTS, when you talk about BTS brand name, is all about durability, right? So how long can your BTS shoes can last? 5 years, 7 years. So we are producing shoes that can last as long as possible. Of course, it must be fashionable as well, but the durability is always on the top of mind of our clients. And also for us, eco-friendly solutions doesn't mean that we have to invest a huge amount of investment into that. We have an incentive recently that a model called còn gì dùng đó, which means we use whatever left in our inventory of raw material to create a new line of shoes that very unique. It can be different in colors, in shape, but they are utilize whatever left of the production process. So it's also a solution that we try to implement to reduce our waste of raw material. And also other changes in our way of selling product, like switching to eco-friendly or biodegradable packaging, for example. The cost is not too different, actually. Indeed, it's higher, but it's not way too different that can prevent our customer from choosing us. So I think it's worth investing in that kind of solutions, and I think the price so far is not the big problem that preventing us to comply with ESG, actually.
I want to add a little bit more. Instead of having, in addition to products that have higher cost, we also use that concept to have a lower cost products. For example, we have thinner plastic, we have recycled plastic. We also have the solution to reduce the energy use by using the higher technology. So have many things to do at the same time to make up for each other.
Thank you so much for answering the question. There's one question at the back. Yes? Please stand up.
So hi everyone, my name is Quyên. I am from Alive and Thrive, an international initiative to save life and improve the caring for mothers and children. So I have a question specifically from Chị Giang from BTS, because I was very impressed with the Happy BTS program. And as BTS, you are in textile industry, which is very labor intensive, especially female ones. So I'm just want to hear more about in your Happy BTS program, what kind of detailed activities you have in regards with the maternity protection. I just want to hear more about that. Thank you.
Thank you, Em, for your question. Actually, yes, we are in footwear industry, and it's extremely labor intensive, actually. But in our, I can proudly say that in BTS, we don't tolerate discrimination, and especially the majority of our employees are women. And I can tell that about 2/3 of our leadership people are also female. So if there is discrimination, it should be for the male employees, not for the female employee. I'm sorry to say so, but yeah, yes. We have policy to protect the right of female workers. It complies with the laws of Vietnam, and also through Happy BTS program, we invite every of our employee to be a part of that program. They will participate in several activities like sharing circle at the office, or we have Hội Phụ huynh, like Parents Club, in which everyone gonna share ideas and experience of raising children together and comfort each other. We also have Happy Kids program that will be introduced in this August. And in that program, we will introduce about the 3 connection tactics, happiness skills to the children of our employees, as well as to the bigger community, the children of Vietnam. And you can wait and join us in August. I believe that is going to be very interesting for you as well. Yeah.
Yes, could we also ask the rest of the speakers just briefly a little bit about your diversity, engagement, discrimination? Yeah.
Yes, if I just could add to that, because a good question, I think, and also here in Lego Manufacturing Vietnam and the Lego Group in general, it's very high on our agenda. So we are also securing the maternity leave, but not only for the mothers, but also for the dads, so they can also go. And we are doing that also over and above the law. And that's important for us. But not only that, it's also, we will have a lot of workers as well, highly skilled workers. But we have discussions also with the Binh Dung province, and they were a bit surprised in the beginning, but we very much care about that they have some houses to live in, so we can avoid too many migrant workers. The kids should go to school, so we have wishes and requirements to the province that they should enable that the workers that move to Binh Dung to work for us, their kids can go to school. And they should not just drag out the paperwork for several years, which is the rumors here in Vietnam that it takes, and therefore they cannot really move, and things like that. And it's also that we are trying to find a bank solution where we can guarantee a mortgage for our shop floor people so they actually can buy one of the cheap houses and things like that. So it's something new we are trying also to attract the labor force, because we know it's a battle for the good laborers we can get here in Vietnam. So we are trying these new things, and we also feel that here in Vietnam it's necessary to lift the whole social responsibility agenda and that. And reactions we have seen is really from surprise in the beginning to, okay, we understand it, but how do we solve it?
Same in Thiên Long, we have our core value is diversification and inclusion. And we also have half of the board in C-suite are women, and half the board in the director boards are women as well. So similar.
Also, we have around 40% of our employees being women. And we also try to support them as much as possible. Maternity leave, also for the dads, is basic. We also try to focus on the health. We have several sport clubs for women in general. Men are also allowed to join. We have a yoga class. We have biking clubs. We have cycling clubs. Also, many things to engage the employees to secure that disengagement. And also, we have also CSR activities where we try to work together with the communities around us. Last year, we also organized a treasure event where we, together with the school, explained waste sorting and what they can do with their waste. Why it's important to recycle it, and I think raising this awareness amongst kids and the communities around us is very important. They are the future.
Thank you so much for that additional angle to the work you're doing. So I'm going to ask Mimi, can we have another hour? Because I think, and she's laughing hysterically and saying, no, no, no. But I think this has been a really wonderful conversation. And I'm sure each of the speakers would be happy to answer even more questions individually. I have one wrap-up question, because we have talked manufacturing industry, ESG, you've talked a little bit your journeys to get there, what you've added, the additionality around the work and what you're trying to achieve. So to wrap up our last segment, and if you could just talk around it around 1 minute, how would you like to leave the audience and what should they remember? And we think about how are we building a resilient future? And what do you see needs to be done when you look in the future? What will be different from today and how we're going to get there? I know it's a very existential and inspirational question, but try your best. So Melissa.
Yes, I will try my best. I think it's a topic that we already mentioned before. It's engagement. It's also listen to your employees, listen to your customers, listen to all your stakeholders. Also, your shareholders are quite important. Listen to them, ask them what they think it's important, and then focus on these items. Also, we see it amongst our tenants. Some are pioneers, some don't know where to start. Start small. and step by step, it will improve. But start. I think that's an important one.
With Thiên Long, we want everybody to remember happy learning life. Happy learning to be sustainable, happy learning to be responsible, and happy to learn to make other learn to be sustainable and responsible as well. So I love to see the journey ahead that everybody involved with us together.
Yes, 1 minute is short, so the most important thing to remember, keep loving Lego and then playing with it. It has been around for many, many years. We plan to be here in Vietnam for many, many generations. And next time you are in the shop and have to purchase decision on that, maybe give it an additional just 2 second thoughts about the manufacturer of the product you're buying. Is it worth supporting or is it not worth supporting? Maybe just spend a little bit more. That's someone that is serious into that whole ESG agenda and that. And of course, everyone, the employees of all your companies, yourself, and that next time you're at the Sala Bridge, please bring the single-use plastic with you home. Don't throw it. Doesn't look nice there.
That's really a hard question, actually, Christina. Yeah, to me, it's going to be in 2 levels. The first one is for individual level. And I think for each of us here can be a change agent. And as long as you commit, I think you will and commit to the path that you choose to be eco-friendly. Please go with it and don't hesitate, don't give up, because only we have a statement in BTIS saying that bớt một cọng rác trồng một cái cây, so let's waste more trees. Even small action every day that you make, like throw away less waste, make more like responsible consumption decision is even better. It's making the world better. And to the institution level, I believe is always start small. I agree with you. And from the low-hanging fruit, the success, the easy success, you can like implement bigger solutions. And especially institution and organizations should define exactly what they want to go. Otherwise, they're gonna waste a lot of money on a lot of strategies, but at the end of the day, they cannot gather the exact result that they need. So know what you want and start small, I think so. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So we've heard here start, we've heard keep that learning going, invest in the long term, and commit. And I will also add, like, let's just get going. Let's not wait anymore. So thank you so much to these wonderful speakers. So if we could do a big, big, loud round of applause.